Yo, what's happening everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk of Elite Wagers. I am your host, Elite Wagers, and this episode I'm going to be talking about the fantasy contest over on Fanteam, which is the UCL contest. We've got a huge one from Fanteam. As always, they bring us the best fantasy contests in the business. This is a £25,000 prize pool contest. £20 buy-in for this contest as well, but it's an absolutely huge contest, and it actually runs from tomorrow's games, so that'll be Tuesday's games, which is the beginning of the knockout stage, and it will run all the way through to the final. So it's a nice chunk of a tournament that we've got, and yeah, we'll get into it. I'll break down the contest format, a few strategies that I like to go by, and then I'll add in a few players and a little team reveal as well that I'm going to be using from now onwards, really. So like I said, it's the knockout stage contest for the Champions League. £25,000 prize pool, £20 buy-in. Rules are pretty simple, so it's going to be 9 game weeks. So like I said, from tomorrow, the first knockout round all the way through to the final. Captain will be double points as normal. You get 3 free transfers every game week, so bear this in mind. I'll talk about this strategically a little bit in a minute anyway, but you get 3 free transfers every week, well, every game week. You cannot save unused free transfers from the previous game week as well, so it's 3. If you don't use the 3, then you lose those transfers. Any other transfers over the 3 will cost you -4 points. You do get 2 wildcards, so obviously, again, strategically, oh my god, I can't speak. Strategically, you will probably use one of those for the final, and then you get another one if you are sort of losing your way a little bit. You got 85 million to build your squad, which is quite a reasonable budget as well when you look at the players and the prices and things like that. So that's pretty good. You can own 3 players from the same team up until game week 5. Then you'll be able to own up to 4. From game week 7, you'll own up to 6, and then game week 9, you can own 8 onwards. So that's a few basic rules for this contest. Scoring sort of is the same as any other contest. 1 point for appearance, which is 60 minutes on the pitch. 3 points for an assist. 5 for a penalty save for the goalkeeper. 0.5 per save. 4 points for a clean sheet. Defenders 6 points for a goal. 4 points for a clean sheet. 0.6 for a shot on target. Midfielders 5 points for a goal. 1 point for a clean sheet. 1 point for a full match played, 0.4 for shot on target, and then a forward is 4 for a goal, 1 for a full played match, 0.4 for a shot on target. So again, pretty similar to all the main sort of contests that we have from Fanteam. It's a nice format, and yeah, we'll get into a little bit of strategical planning. The first one, like I said, with those transfers, comes hand in hand with sort of fixture planning. Fixture planning is going to be key. Obviously, there's a few teams that already have a buy-in to the next round, so you won't see them feature in this game week. Those teams can include sort of Arsenal, Man City, etc., Bayern Munich, things like that. So you do want to bear that in mind. Don't sort of play your full game based on this sort of game week. You need to obviously remember that they're going to be coming into the next week's game week, so you need to plan for those transfers a little bit later on. But for the initial part, you want to be targeting teams that have the favourable knockout fixtures, and obviously this is all personal preference, but you're going to want to target those teams that you think are going to go deeper into the contest. There's no picking. No disrespect to any team in this competition in the knockout stage. They've obviously all done very well to get in there, but you don't want to be picking sort of a crowd bag player when they're not going to sort of go to the final. You'd much rather pick a team, similar to Man City or Real Madrid, that kind of calibre of team where they can potentially go all the way. Obviously, favourites at home as well is another big one. Favourites home teams at home tend to be favoured anyway, but obviously if you've got a big contrast of teams, you've got PSG against Monaco. Obviously they see each other quite a lot in the league, but a big team like PSG, current holders, are more than likely going to have the edge over a team like Monaco. With that being said, I do tend to sort of use the 3 subs every week. So like I said, with the teams that won't feature in this game week, Man City, the Bayern Munich, things like that, you do need to bear that in mind for your substitutes next week. So me personally, for substitutes and transfers, planning the transfers anyway, I will be using obviously everyone from this week, but I will have a few players that, differential players if you like, or budget picks, that are going to be cheaper value kind of thing. Try and save the budget for the expensive players for next week's teams. And with that, it doesn't sort of necessarily matter if they get through or not this week. They might play their absolute heart out this week, get you 2 goals and an assist, but still get knocked out. But that doesn't necessarily matter because you're going to sub them out next week anyway. So obviously that's another thing to bear in mind in terms of the fixture planning and the transfer planning. In terms of sort of your budget picks or your differential picks, those are the players that are going to have the lower ownerships, but sort of the higher upside in scoring points. It's not going to be the so-called superstars. It's going to be those players that sort of from mid to low level teams, who are sort of key for those teams. There's a player called Haig for Bordeaux Glimt, and he's sort of one of those players that just pops up and score goals, but again, he's not going to be one of those that's going to go deep into the competition, so he could be good for this sort of opening week. And then you're not afraid to sub him out next week anyway. So those are the sort of budget picks that are going to be sort of low, undervalued players with the higher upside. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it strategically. I think I've covered the basis. Maybe I'll touch on where I like to put my money. Obviously, the attack is going to be the most expensive area on the field. You've got those high sort of price players like your Mbappes and your Alvarez's and your Martinez. So we've got those high sort of, high value players, high value pick. So that's where your money's going to more than likely be. Midfield as well as another one of those. You got the top tier sort of highly priced midfielders. So I would ideally like to keep my money within those 2 areas. The defence and the goalkeeper area are going to be sort of lower budget. Well, they're obviously already lower valued anyway, but lower budget. So I don't tend to pick 4 defenders. I tend to have 3 defenders, 1 goalkeeper, and that's sort of going to be around the 20 million mark, and everything else goes into the midfield and the attack. So with that being said, I think it's time to dive straight into my team selections and things like that. So for the goalkeeper area anyway, it's hard not to look at sort of Courtois. Obviously one of the best goalkeepers in the world on his day. Courtois, Real Madrid goalkeeper, is going to cost 6 million. But he's only conceded 9 goals so far in the competition. 38 saves as well, averaging 5 per game. So he's having that high sort of upside in terms of his volume of play. Obviously there's been 8 game weeks so far. He's played 7. He's had 4 or more points in all but 2 of those games. So yeah, he's had a clean sheet. He's actually had 2 clean sheets. As I said, conceded 9 goals, so averaging 1 goal per game. But Real Madrid are one of those teams that can go deep into the competition, and obviously, when they want to stop teams from scoring, they absolutely can. Another similar player is Jan Sommer, for instance. Jan Sommer for Inter Milan conceded 7 goals, 22 saves. He's got a clean sheet in 50% of games so far this campaign. He's played all 8 of their games. He's actually got 5 or more points in 1, 2, 3, 4, so in half of those games. So another one that's going to get you a high amount of points. Inter could obviously go fairly deep into this competition as well. Another couple in that list. Nick Pope is another good goalkeeper. He's actually got the most points from any goalkeeper in the competition so far. 5 conceded goals, 20 saves, clean sheet in 57% of those games. Also had a double-digit game as well against Benfica. But my concern with him for that is going to be the fact that Newcastle might not go all the way, which again to me it's not an ideal sort of situation especially for a goalkeeper, because you don't want to be substituting your goalkeepers often. Looking at the bracket as well, Newcastle could face Chelsea or Barcelona, so that's going to be a tough game in the next round anyway. Real Madrid could get Man City or Sporting, so obviously they've got a 50-50 chance of a winnable game, an easier winnable game, and then Inter Milan, Man City or Sporting as well. So look at the fixtures for the next round. I'm more than likely going to go with Jan Sommer or Courtois. I think Jan Sommer has the easier matchup in this one, facing Bordeaux Glimt. So I think Jan Sommer is a decent pick for a goalkeeper in this opening round. Moving on to defensive area for the competition. Again, similar teams are going to be popping up. You can have your Newcastles because they're playing Karabag, PSG playing Monaco, but obviously the PSG defenders are really, really high elite level. Even Atletico Madrid, they don't tend to concede too many goals. Inter Milan again, a few outsider teams, Juventus, maybe even Bayer Leverkusen. But for me, one that stands out, if you want to pick him for this opening round, is Dan Burn. He's a very solid defender for Newcastle. 7 goals conceded, 1 assist, 1 goal, a clean sheet in 42% of games. You're basically going to be picking him for this game week and this game week only. I wouldn't like to have him against Chelsea or against Barcelona in the next game week, but facing Karabag, I think he's going to have Newcastle's going to have a solid game in general anyway. Similar story for Atletico Madrid. So Marcos Llorente conceded 11, no clean sheets for him, but he has scored 3 goals. So he's an attacking defender anyway. He likes to get up and down the pitch, and playing Bruges in this opening game could be a good start to his competition. Facing Tottenham or Liverpool in the next round, Atletico could be either one of those two teams as well, especially with the way they're both playing in the Premier League. So Marcos Llorente could be a good shout for a solid defender to go into the next couple of rounds. Di Marco for Inter Milan as well. Again, potentially facing Man City or Sporting in the next round. But for me, he's a top player. Again, quite an attacking player. Conceded only 5 goals, 50% clean sheet. He scored 1 goal himself as well. And the last game, it was a shutout against Borussia Dortmund, 2-0 win. He had 12 points in that game, which he scored a goal and a clean sheet. So 12 points in that game for him. So again, another one of those players that can go fairly deep into the competition. So there's a lot of good options. Obviously, you've got the PSG boys as well. Nuno Mendes, 2 goals, 2 assists, 9 goals conceded. Again, a very attacking sort of defender. Obviously, that's my style of defensive unit, is sort of an attacking unit. I like the ones that get up and down the field, can get a clean sheet, but also can get a goal involvement for those extra points. Again, another one, Grimaldo for Leverkusen. 14 goals conceded, but scored 4 and assisted 1. So he's had 2 double-digit games already, 11 points and 12 points in 2 of his last 4 games as well. So again, Leverkusen being one of those top teams that can go a little bit further into this competition. They're a tough side to break down normally. Playing Olympiacos in this one, they should sort of breeze through this contest, but face Bayern Munich or Arsenal in the next round, which can be a tough one. So again, you need to be planning those substitutions for the sort of the later rounds. A lot of good options for the defensive unit, and they all tend to be sort of decently priced as well. Nuno Mendes being one of the most expensive at 6.5. You have sort of Grimaldo at 6, Di Marco at 6. Who else have you got? You got Kelly as well for Juventus. 1 goal, 1 assist for him as well. Conceded 9 goals, Again, fairly decent matchup in this first game. Galatasaray obviously can be sort of a goal scoring threat when they want to be, and then facing Liverpool or Tottenham, again, those two teams can be beaten in the next round. So you do have a possible Juventus defender to pop in there as well. All sort of reasonable price, as I mentioned. Kelly's at 5 million, Dan Burns at 5.5 million. So there is a lot of good options in the defensive unit, trying to keep that price down for the midfield unit, which I'm going to go to now. And I'm actually going to start with the most expensive, and we're going to talk about Vinny first. He's the most expensive player, most expensive midfielder in the game at 10 million. He also has the third most points for a midfielder, with 49. He has assisted 7 and got 1 goal, and obviously we all know who he's assisting. That's that man Kylian Mbappe, so we'll talk about him again in a minute. But yeah, he's been on fire. The Real Madrid forward, he's playing as forward, obviously classed as midfielder on this game, which is an extra bonus for us. So Vinny is sort of a no-brainer when he gets to play with Mbappe against Benfica. Obviously they played a couple of weeks ago. Let me just go back to see how he did against Benfica. Against Benfica, he actually didn't do anything, but I don't expect that to be sort of his level, his standard, especially in this game where they know, they got humbled against Benfica in the last round. I expect them to come out all guns blazing in this one and try and rectify that. Potentially facing Sporting in the next round as well, and Man City. He's had a few good games against Man City in the past, so I think Vinny can be one of those players that can go deep into the contest. Obviously paying a premium for him, but I think he's well worth that extra money. Another one is Kvaratskhelia, 9.5 million, so the second most expensive player in this game. He has a total of 40 points, 3 assists, 3 goals. Obviously not playing to his best level, but he's playing good enough. Him, Barcola, Doué, Dembele as the front four, so he's got a lot of options to assist to. Playing Monaco in this contest as well, so he faces Monaco fairly often. And as I mentioned, PSG potentially got Barcelona and Chelsea in the next round. For a team like PSG, that could be sort of a winnable bunch of games, and they could see themselves into the semi-final quite not comfortably, but I could definitely see that happening. I think Kvaratskhelia is one of the players that can help get them into that sort of area of the team, into the competition room. And then working down in sort of the valuation of the players and things, I'm going to go stick with PSG player. It's going to be Vitinha, and he actually surprisingly has the second most amount of points in this contest. Vitinha has 56 points in the contest, 1 assist, 5 goals. Obviously he's not known for his goal scoring abilities and things, so that could be something to look out for, that he's not going to be pressing high forward often, but he is at the moment playing in that role where he's sort of just picking up any loose balls, and he's getting some shots on goal. He's actually converting those shots as well, so could be very, very, very good sort of cheaper addition. He's 1.5 million cheaper than his PSG counterpart in Kvaratskhelia. So going down the list into Yildiz, 7.5 million. Obviously a young Turkish talent. He's got a knack for goals. He's one of those players that can get the ball into his attackers. He's got 4 assists, but he can also score goals well. He's a very, very good player. I remember watching him in the Euros. He played absolutely phenomenal. So not got much to go on from him so far, sort of in this contest. But playing Galatasaray could be an end-to-end game. I keep mentioning that the 2 games, Liverpool and Tottenham, getting through those is fairly reasonable, and I think he's one of those people that's going to be firing the ball into his attackers, firing the ball at the net, and potentially scoring and creating a lot of goals for his team. Going down again, Calhanoglu for Inter. He's one of my most sort of picked players in this contest so far. When I play the weekly contest, he's got 2 assists, 1 goal, so not really high level amount of points, but he is on free kicks and a lot of the times on penalties as well. So he's on corners, so he gets the extra, the added potential for assists. Playing Bodo Glimt, should be sort of a decent opening game, with obviously the eye open to Man City or Sporting in the next round. Who else have we got going down the list? Let's have a look. Okay, let's go for Simeone for Atletico, 7 million. Again, another one of those strong players for Atletico Madrid. 1 assist, 2 goals so far in this contest. Hasn't sort of featured frequently for Atletico Madrid recently, but he is a top player for them. He's an aggressive player. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to use his strength. And obviously, again, Lookman coming into the team, Griezmann in the team. You've got Alvarez in the team, and you've got Sorloth in the team. So he's got a lot of people that can help around him, get the ball to him, or for him to get the ball to. So I think he is going to be a decent player as well. Who else have we got? Looking down the list in terms of price. Looking at Bayer Leverkusen, Alex Garcia used to be sort of a fullback, but now he's playing himself as a wider player for Bayer Leverkusen. He's got 2 goals, no assists, but regular sort of picking up 3 to 4 points in his games that he's played. Again, tough fixture list for them. Olympiacos is a winnable game, but then facing potentially Bayern or Arsenal in the next round. I think he's going to be one of those players that, if you want to keep the price down and keep some money for the next round, he could be one of those games that could pop off in this game week, and then you're not sort of worried about subbing him out for the next game week to get in one of those sort of Bayern Munich, Arsenal players, or Man City players, anything like that. So I think he could be one of those sacrifice players, if you like, for the next round. I think I've covered, most of. Obviously, there's a lot of players. Obviously, you've got the Newcastle players as well. I mentioned Gordon. He's got the most points so far in the competition for any midfielder, 58 points. He's 8 million, so reasonably priced. 3 assists, 6 goals. He's got 3 double-digit games as well. He's had a 10-point game, 11.3-point game, and a 14.3-point game. So yeah, he's potentially one of the best, one of the most informed midfielders, and obviously has a reasonable matchup in this game against Karabag. So he could be worth putting in. Plays Chelsea or Barcelona in the next round, so that he could be again another one of those sacrifice players where you're playing for this game week, hope he pops off, gets you a lot of points, and then you sub him out next week for maybe one of those Barcelona players, or anyone from the top teams that are already through to the next round. So I think we're better on moving on to the forward position. So the forward position is probably the hardest position for me to break down. I think there's a lot of high value players, but there's also a lot of reasonably priced players, which obviously I don't like to leave a lot of budget on the bench, but you've got to keep in mind using those transfers for next week. So we'll start off by looking at Mbappe. He has the most points in the competition from any position. He's going to cost you 12.5 million, so obviously you're paying a premium, but he's well worth it. He's bang on form. I think he scored 9 goals in his last 6 games. He scored a brace in 3 of the last 6 games, I think, as well. I think I read that right before. 13 goals in this competition. He's had double-digit games in all but 2. All but 2 games in this competition so far. So he's actually playing really, really, really well. Obviously, as I mentioned about Vinny before, Vinny's a good assister, and obviously there could be an odd occasion where Mbappe could find Vinny for a few goals as well. So the only downside to picking Mbappe is the fact that they could potentially face Man City again in the next round. But he's played well against them in the last couple of competitions and things, the last couple of seasons. But he's going to be my captain, I think, and he's in absolutely amazing form. I'm expecting a nice points haul from him. And I think we can keep him in the team, for as long as it's in the competition. He can sort of play well against anyone in this competition. Moving on to the next one that I have, I haven't mentioned, but I have looked at Julian Alvarez. Obviously, playing against Bruges, so a good opening game. He could be one of those sacrifice players where you pick him for this week and you sub him out next week. At 8 million, you're probably looking at getting, maybe a Man City player or something like that. But 4 goals, 2 assists for Julian Alvarez in the competition so far. As I mentioned, a decent game against Bruges, and then Tottenham or Liverpool in the next round is a very winnable couple of games. So they could find themselves into that quarterfinals where they could potentially face Barcelona, who they obviously just beat a couple of days ago 4-0. So when you look at it like that, you could sort of feel comfortable picking Julian Alvarez in your team, and potentially captain him for this week as well against Bruges. Guirassy is another one that I've been looking at. Got a decent matchup against Atalanta, but that's probably about it for their fixtures. Arsenal, Bayern Munich in the next round, and possibly Real Madrid or Man City in the round after that if they do make it through. Not looking likely in my opinion. I don't know whether it's worth putting him in for one game and subbing him out for the next. He's only worth 7.5 million, 3 goals, 4 assists, but as mentioned, this could be a one game sort of wonder where you pick him and then sub him out for the next one. And then similar story for Martinez for Inter, playing a good matchup against Bodo Glimt, as I mentioned before, with Calhanoglu and obviously the defenders and the goalkeeper. 4 goals, 1 assist for him in this competition so far. He's in decent form in the league as well. He's sort of their main go-to striker. Obviously, you've got Thuram as well, who plays alongside / behind him. But I'm much more comfortable in Martinez and a lot of these players actually in this competition, especially for this round. Again, potentially facing Man City in the next round is tough. But again, I think he can score. You can bag a goal if you needed to. And then finally, for like a value pick, it's been hard to pick a sort of lower valued player in this competition. I did look at sort of Icardi for Galatasaray, but I couldn't sort of justify playing him. He's not played too much so far this season. There's a few others, sort of Taremi for Olympiacos at 5.5 million, could cause problems against Bayer Leverkusen, 2 goals, 2 assists. But again, at 5.5 million, there's no real upside in sort of subbing him out for next week. You're not going to get a decent striker for the same amount of money. So I did sort of look at Waltermaid for Newcastle. Again, good fixture for this week. Links up well with Gordon and Harvey Barnes. 1 goal, 1 assist in this competition, but he did sort of start his Newcastle career on a high note. Scored a few goals in the opening couple of games. Playing Karabag in this round. Again, could potentially put in a decent shift for this game week, and then look to sub him out for the next game week. But I think the majority of teams are going to have Mbappe. So for one of my teams, I've actually gone with let me have a look. For one of my teams, let me just click on entries. I have gone with Mbappe in one, and I've gone for one without. So my first team is Jan Sommer, Di Marco, Kelly, Grimaldo, Simeone, Calhanoglu, Kvaratskhelia and Vinny, Mbappe, Waltermaid and Alvarez. And then the second team that I have entered is very, very similar, not sort of kept too much money on the bench. Courtois, Marcos Llorente, Dan Burn, Nuno Mendes, Yildiz, Garcia, Vitinha and Vinny, Guirassy, Martinez and Alvarez up front. So a bit of a variety in the two teams, but I think a lot of the players in this competition are going to have a decent time. But obviously, it's just trying to pick those, it's trying to weed out those teams that are going to last a little bit longer. So the PSGs, the Real Madrids, and then obviously bear in mind for next week's transfers and substitutions. So hopefully this little breakdown of the contest and of my favourite picks and my strategies and things like that helped you out. If it did, don't forget to drop me a like, share and subscribe. Head over to my Twitter as well, which is @EliteWages. Drop me a follow. I'm currently on college basketball for the first time. I'm actually having a decent run at the moment, which I'm posting daily on there. Obviously, I'll have Champions League bets for tomorrow as well posted on there. Obviously, this will be posted on there with my lineup. So if you forget to lock in a lineup and you forget who I sort of mentioned in this one, have a look at the 2 screenshots I'm going to post with this episode to remind yourself of who and why. And yeah, appreciate everyone for listening. Head over to Fanteam, sign up using my link, which is in my link tree, which I'll put on the description of this video. Sign up, you bet £10, you get £20 in free bets. And also, you get to enter this wonderful competition set up by Fanteam. So lock in, let's get it. Appreciate everyone for listening, and I'm going to catch you later.